dreams within reach. It's time to rise. Body, soul, and mind, open your eyes. Climbing higher, step by step. Real talk, no regrets, get set. One step, one love, we rise. Walk the talk, break free. Get to the truth, your story's the proof. Follow me, let's rise, let's see. Set you free, meant to be. Leading the way we start.
That intro never gets old. Wow. Okay, so I am Ryan Keys, and this is the Living Proof Podcast. There are a couple out there, but this is the only Living Proof Podcast with Ryan Keys. So, and a real quick dip into why I began this after everything that I had done in the past. I got diagnosed with Parkinson's, dystonia, and a couple other neurological gifts that have continued giving, and it has made my life kind of turned upside down for a little over a year now. And I'm not complaining. I'm not stuck. But I did realize through the course of everything that I've been doing for the last 10 years, I was helping everybody. I was giving everything, which is fantastic and fine. I was living in service and purpose. But the one thing I forgot is that when you are a flame, you got to keep your own fuel, your own fire going. And you need to learn to be able to give to yourself first. They talk about that on an airplane, right? Which kind of holds more weight today than it has any time before in the past. 87 plane crashes to date. What the heck? So they say put on your mask first and then begin to help other people, because if you pass out, you can't do anything. So when I got that news of Parkinson's and the other neurological stuff that I'm going through, I felt like I had not put my mask on first, to be quite honest. So this show, in a short synopsis, has been practicing what I preach, walking the talk and coming back in alignment and realizing, like many of you, empaths unite. Anybody that has been benevolent in helping other people, anybody that has put themselves out there and really, whether you're a teacher, frontline worker, or whether you're a service member, or whether you're a parent, a single mom, whatever it is, right? Healthcare worker, first responder, the people, the counselors, the people that keep the status quo, that bring balance to other people, other beings. If you are not working on yourself, what happens is because your body can only speak to you through pleasure or pain, it will begin to put things in your path to bring you back to center. And I've found that out. Things we already knew, but now we're taking that knowledge and we're putting in action. So we're learning to walk the talk. We're learning to help other people, but also help ourselves. It's important. It's an important part of our understanding in the makeup of awakening and to really know where we are in life. And I think today's topic is going to be fantastic. If you read the title, Vulnerability, the Doorway to Your Most Powerful Self. This is a crazy topic, vulnerability, right? Because vulnerability isn't about spilling your trauma for clout. So many people do that. So many people bleed online. They share their shit, right? And to be quite honest, I think vulnerability is confused. We're confused with victimization or victimhood. We're confused with using our failings or our past pain as a tool, as leverage to get love, to get attention, to get validation. So vulnerability isn't about validation, right? And vulnerability isn't about sharing your weakness either. I mean, there's a time and space for that, but nobody really wants to know your weakness unless you are working to overcome it. It gets dicey, especially when we learn and we hear people talking about what they're going through, and we see the answer so quickly and we want to just nudge them into it, but we know we can't do it because they're going through it themselves and it's their pace, their problem, and we can just support them. So through the course of that, how do you support somebody? It's not by spilling your own trauma for clout. It's not by sympathizing and identifying with their trauma and dropping to their level. No, no. It's not about proving how much you've suffered. And it's definitely not about begging for validation, as I said. Vulnerability is a power. Okay? Say it with me. Vulnerability is a power. Vulnerability is a result of courage. It's actually the place where your past meets potential. It's the moment you decide to stop hiding, to stop pretending, to stop reminiscing, to stop being stuck, and you start becoming, right? And this is all moving towards that 5-minute miracle where you utilize 5 minutes in a day at least to align yourself and to light yourself up, become that lighthouse so that people will see and learn from how you live, not how you give. So most people are scared, I was, to be vulnerable because they think it means you are going to be belly up, right? Like that you're offering up your weak spots, your sensitive spaces. But really, it's not about looking weak. The truth is vulnerability is courage incarnate, and it's the only way to grow. You actually cannot step into your fullest, most aligned, most jaw-dropping, powerful self if you're still hiding the parts of you that hurt by holding on to the people and to the things that hurt you, right? So today, we're talking about how to use vulnerability correctly as a tool for growth, not as a crutch for validation. And we've seen that for especially the past 4 years. How do you share without oversharing? How do you turn your pain into power? How do you step fully into your truth without feeling like you need to apologize for it? So as we move into that, before we hit that, I wanted to just share something really quickly. Whenever I go to the hospital these days, I'm afraid of being vulnerable in front of the X-ray technicians because they can see right through me. Did I get you? Got you. If there was a buzzer, I'd be like, there it is. I don't know if that came through, but I would hit a buzzer. If I could have a buzzer, I would hit a buzzer. So vulnerability, not a weakness, your greatest strength. And I think if we were real about it, most people would probably even avoid entirely or turn at least this kind of vulnerability into their whole identity. You'd avoid your victimization 100% if you knew how people would perceive you. Because we've all seen the person who overshares every single detail online, literally the diarrhea with everything that's going through the day for them, that's kind of every detail of their struggle, waiting for the likes to validate the pain, to get the sympathy, or even, actually even people that are diarrheaing their victimization are actually even thriving on the trolls and the hate, because then that validates them that, oh, you're so awful, So it keeps them in a box. It doesn't allow you to become your best self. It doesn't allow you to become the biggest version that you have, the biggest, best version that you were designed to be. So vulnerability, not a cry for validation. Real vulnerability, it's this undeniable place of power. It's the moment you decide to stop running from yourself. It's choosing growth over guilt, and it's allowing yourself to be seen without needing permission. So some of the things I'm going to cover in this episode specifically are how to be vulnerable without oversharing or making it weird, and the difference between healing and using pain as your personality, and why hiding your truth is or could be keeping you stuck. And it shouldn't be about sharing your past truths as much as it is about living the truth, right? And how to own your story and move forward, not backward. Sorry for that, clearing my throat. So if you're ready to stop holding yourself back, tap that like button, tap that subscribe button, and let's go. So, and don't forget as well, let me just be a quick reminder, subscribe, share, plant that seed so other people will also know and get this. The more that you're proactive with the information coming in, the more potential it has to actually touch you and to enlighten yourself. So Also, if you feel the need to join the Living Proof Patreon, we post articles and other things over there, and I do 2 lives a month. It doesn't matter what you give, whether it's $5 or $55. It is the same content from everybody, right? It's more of a donation platform where you're donating to this podcast, to this mission, so we can actually start getting some better equipment and get some stuff so I can get out and interview people that are becoming living proof themselves, that are overturning and overcoming their victim mindset and becoming victorious. So screenshot this, share this episode on Instagram or Facebook or wherever it is that you will, and also leave a comment down below. So the truth about vulnerability is you didn't become powerful by pretending that you've never been hurt, right? You became powerful by owning your story without being owned by it. Think about that. You became powerful by owning your story, not by being owned by it. And I just wanted to tell you that you're seen, you're supported, and you're not alone on the path of ups and downs and trying to get your life together. You're not alone. Life is full of all kinds of opportunities. Some of those are a little harder than others. But once you start seeing everything as an opportunity to grow, it does make it a little bit easier. You're not as fixated on forgiving or forgetting. You're more fixated on moving forward as powerfully as possible. And just know that courage is the new sexy, right? So some of the common misconceptions, here's what fake vulnerability looks like. It's when you're on a first date and you only talk about your ex, or it's when you're oversharing online for attention. It's using your pain as an excuse to never grow, or using your pain as a fallback point for all the things that are going on, or even trauma dumping on people that never asked for it, and also being a troll for other people that are positive, right? And another fake vulnerable item on this is when you haven't healed and you're using the past in such a way that it's this illusion of strength. So you've created, actually, rather than healthy boundaries, you've used your pain to create very powerful barriers to bringing in new situations, new stimulation, new connections, because you are unconsciously allowing your fear to go forward with you. Rather than having a healthy fear of the unknown and facing it, you are basing everything in the future on your past. So when you're trying to move forward, you qualify or quantify every single item that comes in by what you've gone through, rather than saying, hey, I'm going to actually give this a shot. I'm going to give this person a chance. I'm going to really dive into this conversation, even though I'm getting a little bit of, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I'm not saying to go around with this big basket of red flags and planting them on the slightest hint of somebody is going to hold you back or going to hurt you. To compare it, let's look at what I believe, from my opinion and some of the research I've done, what true vulnerability looks like. Number one, it's admitting when you don't have all the answers, but you show up anyway. It's choosing growth over validation, and it's, rather than being protective, it's being selective, right? Because not everybody deserves a front row access to your healing and to who you are. So you use a selective process of selection, right? A very selective mindset. Not a mindset based on fear and finding red flags, because everybody has red flags. There's not a person on the planet that doesn't have red flags. Anybody could trigger you at any time, no matter how close you are or how long you've known them. The thing about true vulnerability is, imagine you're sitting down at a table and you're trying to get to know somebody. and they start talking to you about their ex or about how they got fired or all these things that have happened in the past. And it's almost like they're looking for sympathy, but they might think it's empathy. And they're thinking that they're drawing you out of your shell by sharing very personal things out of their pain envelope that kind of closes the distance. It's pulling on your heartstrings, right? Because you're really feeling sympathetic to that cause. Your empathy is at an all-time high. You're like, wow, I can't believe this person has gone through so much. But is that real connection, or are you just having compassion for a person in pain? Now, the person that's feeling this doesn't necessarily know they're doing it. They don't necessarily know that they're using their victim mindset or their victimization as a pathway to validation, which they think leads them to victory, because ultimately they think because they've gotten responses like a kid that's behaving badly, like a puppy that pees to get your attention, they think that using that victim mindset brings you in and draws your attention to them, almost like, like a Nurse Nightingale, or like a knight on a horse coming in to save them. So as you develop this kind of situation where you're wanting to help them or save them because you feel sorry for them, this confusion starts to happen that it's attraction, or that and so then because you drop down to that level where they're at, then both of you begin to identify from the pain body, and the validation comes through supporting and propagating the pain body. That's not really the way you want to go. And it's not going to happen overnight. So this isn't something that you're going to just jump into. It's not like putting on a new pair of pants. What's going to happen is, I would say, when you approach a conversation, TMI, too much information. Don't talk about what happened. Don't talk about why you're where you're at, because that makes it sound weak. Talk about where you're going to go because of what you've overcome. I don't need details what you went through if you're walking in truth and you have overcome it. You only need to provide me details because you're trying to validate that you think you've overcome it. When you've really overcome something, and I'm dealing with this right now with Parkinson's, right? When I walk into a place and my balance is off, or my walk is weird and I look like I'm like from The Walking Dead, literally I'm doing like the Thriller walk with Michael Jackson. I feel like every eye in the store is staring at me, and the first thing I've done at a register unknowingly is like, when they say, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing pretty good, just hanging in there. This Parkinson's is kind of like throwing me off today." Because unconsciously, I'm trying to explain what's going on with me and why I feel weak today by getting their sympathy through validation. Now, that doesn't, if they're going to give it, right? You're going to get it, but that's not a high frequency interaction. So what I'm getting doesn't make me feel better. It just compounds that I feel bad, and now they feel sorry for me feeling bad. So I gave them an excuse why I'm standing there doing or behaving in a certain way, and they accept that excuse because I'm pulling on a place of them that identifies with pain. Rather than, "I'm doing fantastic," and then they say, "Oh, so I noticed you're walking weird. What's happening?" And you say, "Yeah, I'm doing as best I can. I'm doing a lot of work. I got a diagnosis a while back, but hey, every day's a new day. I'm just walking the talk," right? I'm not denying that I have Parkinson's, but I'm not relying on the idea or the diagnosis as a fallback point so that I can figure out how to interact with people, or I can kind of like nurse my bruised ego, or, pull myself out of the pain body. And that's my personal story, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think if you avoid pain, you avoid growth. And if you avoid growth, you become less. You don't tap into your potential. So don't avoid pain, and you will embrace growth, and you will become what you are meant to be, as high as possible. let's take a break. We need a joke. What do you call fake spaghetti? An impasta. Okay, so just a little yeah, what do you call fake spaghetti? An impasta. Anyway, so vulnerability as a superpower, not as a sob story. That's how I see it. And I never really dealt with this before. I never really saw that side of it from a personal place. I saw it in other people, and I was able to point fingers, but I didn't really realize how much it takes to transcend that inside, how much love it takes for yourself. So keep in mind, again, your past, your pain, the pain body, what you've gone through is not your prison, it's your source of power. Most of the strongest people aren't the ones who pretend they've never struggled. They're the ones who turn their struggle into strength. So as we said again, weak vulnerability, I got hurt, now I don't trust anyone. Or you use, instead of making healthy boundaries, you make unhealthy barriers, and you block people, you block yourself from feeling or entertaining anything new because you're constantly looking for those red flags so you can figure out the future before you actually face it, to limit as much pain as possible because you're still in pain. And once you say, just admit, say, hey, I'm still in pain. I'm moving through this. And you say, body, we're still in pain. Why are you holding this pain from the past? Let's dance. Let's have a dance off. Let's work it out. Let's move through this. Talk to yourself in a healthy way. And then understand the flip side of that, like powerful vulnerability would be, I got hurt, I healed, and now I know my worth more than ever, right? You don't become great by avoiding pain. You become great by learning to live through it with grace. The past is not your identity. It's just part of the story. So don't stop there, right? The art of sharing without oversharing. Not everybody deserves access to your deepest wounds or to your darkest secrets, especially on day one. And that was one of the biggest things that when I coach people in relationships, and you can check out my book, Putting the Soul Back in Soulmates. It's available on Amazon. Or you can check out The Conscious Universe, which I also wrote, which I co-wrote with a kind of a crazy theme going into 2021. If you share too much on day one, are you doing it because you believe you're being honest, or are you just enjoying shutting people down, pushing people away? Or are you really sabotaging yourself when you share too much? So many people that I worked with in the dating field, when I worked at eHarmony or Match or whatever it was, they would get stuck in that oversharing mode. They would share way too much on the first date or the second date. They would share things that some people wouldn't even share their entire marriage, right? And I can only think they weren't doing it. It's in their mind, maybe they thought they were doing it because, number one, maybe they haven't had a stranger to hear the same story that nobody else wants to hear anymore. That could be a possibility. Or number two, maybe they are unconsciously testing that person with everything they can throw at it, including the kitchen sink, to say, well, if they can get through that, then they might actually be worth my time and they might love me. So you're testing the waters by dropping TNT into them. And then the other outcome of oversharing is because I believe that you're insecure and nervous like I am at the checkout of the store, and you're going through a transition, you're transcending your own pain, and you really are, maybe you're dating too soon, right? Maybe you're out in the field too soon, and you're not listening to your body. You're not actually giving yourself the personal time and space to heal with somebody that's not putting so much at stake, right? Somebody that you may not be ready for love yet, even though I think that everybody's already ready for love all the time, but maybe you've got a little work to do. So I want to just give you some tips on how to avoid oversharing. Number one, you ask, am I sharing to get connection or to get validation? Are you talking on the first date about your ex to get connection or validation, or are you using it as a tool to test the waters if they're worthy or if they will accept you? and then pause before spilling your guts, because if it feels too soon, it probably is, right? And then share from a scar, not an open wound. And by saying that, I mean a scar is healed, it's perceivable, it is, but it's not raw, and it's not bleeding raw. It's not festering, right? It's not this open emotional space. Those are things you want to process privately first. And if it still makes you cry uncontrollably, it's not your wisdom yet, as Brianna Weiss says. It's your wound, right? If it still makes you cry uncontrollably, it's not your wisdom yet, it's your wound. So if anything makes you cry, a stranger's might give you sympathy, but they're not going to be able to give you the validation that's going to be healthy to pull you out of it. Most likely, they're just going to identify with the pain, and they're going to provide unconscious validation to a space that's going to keep you trapped. So you're better off to hold it to yourself and only share it to people that, like your counselor, your psychiatrist, somebody really close that's already been going through it with you, or doing some mirror work. I'll even send you a free mirror work program. You can find it ryankeys.com/mirror work. It's free, right? And you can let me know how it goes. The key takeaway here is that vulnerability isn't about dumping your past on people. It's about choosing truth over image and acceptance. To be vulnerable means that you face the future, the unknown, with curiosity, with courage, with a desire to be more, do more, see more, right? It's like this story where you finally tell your girl that you love her. You're like, I finally told my girl I love you. And then she paused and said, I love you too. And then that was super depressing. How could she talk about music at such a vulnerable moment? So I broke up with her. That's another joke. U2, the band. Some people may not know who U2 is. They may not know who Bono is. And now we're going to cover a couple of things before we go. How to use vulnerability to grow and not stay stuck. Again, vulnerability isn't just about admitting your struggles. It's about owning them. It's about applying them. It's about being proactive with your pain body and all the bumps and bruises. You're building something, right? You're not carrying these things around, just spilling them on the table at any chance you get. So 3 ways to use vulnerability as a superpower. Number 1, own your mess. You don't have to be perfect, just real. And being truthful and honest doesn't mean you have to share every single thing from your past unless it's pertinent, right? I don't need to know you stole a pencil in 6th grade. I don't need to know you got a speeding ticket at 21. If it's pertinent, yes. If it's something that we might have to process in the future because it's going to be communal, yeah, share it. And don't share it now. Don't share it in the beginning. Don't share it right out of the gate, right? Unless it's like you're an alcoholic and your date wants to go get a drink. Then you don't have a choice. And then you say, you know what? This is what I've been doing, and this may not vibe with you. And you share that. And then you find the lesson, because every struggle taught you something. That lesson is your story, right? And then take a brave step, because vulnerability is action. It's action to take the risk and to show up. Your new life is going to cost you your old one, right? That's the truth. So, closing thoughts on this. Vulnerability isn't a weakness. It's the most powerful thing you can do. It's not about sharing your pain body. It's not necessarily funneling through your past, rifling through all these past papers and problems and putting them on the table. It's about having the courage and the strength and the curiosity to give somebody a chance to really have a conversation about the future, to really be present, to allow your scars to be strength, not the access to go back and relive something. So this week, do one thing that requires courage, right? Courage is the word for the week. open up, set a boundary, take a risk, whatever it is, step into your strength. And you can we do this often, if you're not driving, close your eyes for a second, take a deep breath in and hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1, let it out. 4, 3, 2, 1, hold that empty space. 4, 3, 2, 1, and inhale. That's box breathing. That'll bring you back to center every single time. I do it when I'm having dystonia, when my heart rate is racing. I do it and it works. I'll tell you, it works. Now picture the strongest, most honest, most powerful version of you. And that person already exists. They're not in the future waiting for you to heal. They're here now. And I want you to breathe in as you step into those shoes. See yourself putting on those new shoes, that new you, that person that's now, that strength, that courageous, curious person, becoming that self. And then your next steps are subscribe, share, leave a comment, hit that thumbs button. Join the Living Proof Patreon group for more discussions, for breakthroughs, for other ideas that we share. And then one last joke for the road. What do you call a snowman with a six-pack? An abdominal snowman. I almost messed up that whole joke. Okay, so I'm going to play this new song that I wrote. It's called Fire and Faith, and we're going to go out with that. Peace, light, love. I'll let you guys listen to this. Enjoy.
Faith in my veins, no need to look back. My roots run deep, like the stories I hold. I've survived the floods, I've braved the lookout. Every scar a map of the lessons earned, the balance restored, another one learned. The wind can howl, the night can cry, but I'll stand tall and I'll survive. The fire inside will never fade. Faith is the spark that lights my way. Faith and fire burning brighter. Look out, boy, I was born a fighter. No weight too heavy, no mountain too steep, no love too deep, no dream out of reach. I've walked through fire, I've breathed in ash. Faith in my veins, no need to look back. I've heard the silence after my call, where prayers were whispers against stone walls. But when the night refused to end, I found my light and made it my friend. The wind can howl, the night can cry, but I'll stand tall and I'll survive. The fire inside will never fade. Faith is the spark that lights my way. My roots run deep like the stories I hold. I survived the floods, I braved the cold. Every scar a map of the lessons earned, the balance restored, another one learned. Hold on, you won't break. Every ember feeds what you create. Let it burn, let it grow. Faith will guide you home. My roots run deep like the stories I hold. I survived the floods, I braved the cold. Every scar a map of the lessons earned, the balance restored, another one learned. Like the stories I hold, I've survived the floods, I've braved the cold.